Come, Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1. Line drive to the base hit. Justice has scored a tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Racker throws. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them with my faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings long drive left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series.
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins. Here's the pitch to Willie.
There's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball has marked the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. Yes, it's goodbye. One out.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
I see with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, are you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of the program. I am your host, Dan Scott. Hope that your day is going well. It's off to a good start, and we'll try not to mess it up if it is. We've got a good show lined up for you today, we think. We're not live from a full show standpoint yesterday, although if you happen to tune in at about 10:25 on the Campus FM, you did hear me do an interview with Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com and post that to SoundCloud and then tweet it out. We're going to play that interview coming up at 10:20 today. It'll be 24 hours old, but it's still going to be very relevant because he's at the ACC tournament, talks about teams that are still alive, and also talks about the passing of Woody Durham. And then Brett Harker is going to be in with us live at 10:45 to talk about his team's sweep of Penn in back-to-back midweek games, which is something we don't do very often around here. But that'll be coming up at the 10:45 juncture. In fact, as I'm getting things kind of lined up and working last minute on a couple of things here, you're going to notice that some things are going to pop up on the screen, and I'm going to be adding something. We're going to hear from Brett here in just a moment after yesterday's game, and you're getting I don't know what you're seeing right now, actually, but hopefully you're still at least hearing me, and then we'll have something for you here in just a moment. But it's the a time for Furman baseball. This is trying to do 6 things at once. That they're actually playing pretty well right now, and the hope is that they'll be able to continue to do just that. They have won 3 in a row, and now 5 of their last 6. And during that time frame, I think as Hunter Reed kind of put out there yesterday, come back to me here for just a minute. As Hunter Reed put out there yesterday, the team batting average during that time frame, 5-1 during those 6 games, which includes the win over South Carolina. It's actually the game that started the run. 337 team batting average, and the team ERA, the staff ERA, is an even 4 during that time frame. Nick Verbeck was outstanding yesterday for Brett Harker's club, and his second start of the season, and it proved to be a big one. He goes 7 innings and allows just 1 run, and that was, of course, in the 7th inning last night. So he continues to pitch well, and boy, it's great to see. A young man who came in here last year from Spartanburg Methodist with Tyler Kimbrell, and they really had high hopes for what he was going to bring here on the to this staff, and he got off to a bit of a slow start and then was injured and basically had to be shut down for the rest of the season. So we have not seen the best of Nick Verbeck yet, and I think that's what's the exciting thing, is the way the young man threw yesterday is by and large the way that he threw at every other stage of his career so far. So as we continue to move forward, and the course of things that happens over a long season, you just never know. Is this going to be a prelude to him getting a full shot in the rotation? Is it
down here on the
field
field after Furman's 4-1 win to complete a 2-game series sweep of the Penn Quakers?
Probably hearing Brett
start right at the
talking
beginning, Brett,
me
with the job Nick
right
Verbeck
now.
did for you today.
I'm going
It
to
was
stop
unbelievable.
that for just
that's
a second,
the best he's pitched in
and
a
then we'll
Furman
get back to
uniform.
it here.
I had a feeling,
minute,
building up some confidence with that
actually, you may still
emergency
be
start he had last
hearing
weekend.
Brett, and
He
I
threw
am
good,
very
not still up to
confused
his
and also
potential,
very
but
sorry,
I felt like the
for
pressure
the
got off his
confusion
shoulders of trying to prove that what he can do here. And he was able to just relax. He just looked so much more confident and relaxed out there.
Yeah, that'll take care of it. So, again, I would say this is live broadcasting at its best, but we definitely know it's not its best. Offensively, did not pile on the runs like it looked like they were going to at the game's outset yesterday. Gabe Kleiman, the lefty starter for Penn, really settled down, got some help. Furman ran into 3 outs on the base paths inside the first 4 innings. But after the second inning, he had really settled down and he limited Furman to just one run until the 5th inning when he gave up back-to-back, 4 straight 2-out hits. 2 outs, nobody on base, 4 straight hits produced 2 runs, and after 5, he was done, down 3-0. Paladins would add 1 more run in the later innings, and as a matter of fact, you can see that right now and hopefully hear it as well. Here is Jabari Richards with his 2nd home run of the season that provided Furman with what would be its final run in yesterday's 4-1 win. Second home run, first since opening day for Jabari, and the Paladins went on to win it 4-1. 7 innings for Verbeck, 2 innings for Tyler Kimbrell, and now the Paladins are 8-5 on the season, heading into a pair of games this weekend with at Fluor Field, one versus Michigan State tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, and then at 1 o'clock on Saturday against Illinois. After yesterday's game, strangely enough, Brett Harker spoke to us, and here's what he had to say.
Down here on the field after Furman's 4-1 win to complete a 2-game series sweep of the Penn Quakers, and then got to start right at the beginning, Brett, with the job Nick Verbeck did for you today.
It was unbelievable. I mean, that's the best he's pitched in a Furman uniform, and I had a feeling building up some confidence with that emergency start he had last weekend. He threw good, not still up to his potential, but I felt like the pressure got off his shoulders of trying to prove that what he can do here, and he was able to just relax. He just looked so much more confident and relaxed out there. Ball came out really well. I don't believe he walked anybody. 0 walks in 7 innings, scattered 6 hits, and 1 earned run right there in the 7th. I mean, we just can't ask for much more. That looked like a true weekend starter for us, and it was very good to see.
And the key to it, for the most part, being able to pitch ahead, not getting themselves down 2-0, 3-1.
So that's a big thing you look at. And then another thing you look at is in hitters' counts, what do they do with the fastball? And he got a lot of weak contact in 2-0 and 3-1 counts. So even when he was behind, his fastball had some late movement on it to get poor swings. And that's a good thing to see, because as much as you preach pitching ahead, obviously sometimes you fall behind, and it's a lot better to see that kind of contact than balls flying over the trees.
You know, offensively, you start looking for trends to develop maybe about this time after 13 games now, and this series in particular, you hit well with runners in scoring position and with 2 out base hits.
Yeah, that's been a nice attribute of this team. Elmi is on fire with runners on base, and Ben Anderson just continues to set the tone. Had another 3 hits today out of a freshman. It's incredible to see. But you're right, that's something that I hope carries on throughout the season. And the good sign with that is typically when guys are in the stretch and runners are in scoring position, that's when you're going to get off speed, which means we're handling off speed, not swinging at stuff in the dirt, and wait until we get a pitch or an account to where we can spray the ball. And once again, I thought we did a good job of going opposite field and both being able to pull the ball today.
That's 3 in a row, 5 of your last 6 games. So you feel like you're starting to tune it up a little bit?
Yeah, I do. I feel like the boys are just learning what it takes to win on a consistent basis. And I told them, look, this program continues to talk about going to the next level. Well, if we want to go to the next level, we got to learn how to win midweeks, whether it's at South Carolina or it's 2 midweeks at home. And we just checked off 2 boxes on learning how to win midweek. I'll tell you what, in 4 years, I'm pretty sure we haven't won a Tuesday, Wednesday midweek in my 4 years here. So that's telling you that we're getting the arms in here to do that, but we're also getting the confidence and learning how to actually win those games.
Yeah, and anytime your starter goes 7, that gets you a big boost, doesn't it?
That helps. And the arms are starting to show why we brought them in. I mean, we had some high hopes on Trent Alley, Nick Verbeck, on these guys, and Lazar and all these guys, and it's finally starting to click. And the biggest thing I just keep going back to is the confidence. These kids are starting to gain confidence in innings pitched, and the sky's the limit once that happens.
All right, Brett, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
So that was Brett Harker immediately following the game yesterday. He'll be in with us at 10:45 to kind of expand on some of that stuff as we move forward. Again, Paladin's now 8-5 on the season, and 2 games with Big Ten opponents at Fluor Field this weekend. Michigan State tomorrow at 6, Illinois 1 o'clock on Saturday. Again, no Sunday game. Furman's schedule is actually 2 games short of the 56-game limit right now, and it looks like it's going to stay that way unless something changes. But, again, Presbyterian College somehow, some way ended up overscheduling and had to pull out of the series of games this weekend at Fluor Field. So that's left Furman a game shy with no game on Saturday. So anyway, that is about where we are where that is concerned. When we come back, we're going to shift gears. We're going to talk to Dave Glenn. Going to spend a good bit of time talking about the loss of the legendary Woody Durham. And then Brett Harker will be here live in studio at around 10:40, 10:45. So we're looking forward to that. Of course, the show, as always, brought to you by the Atlanta Bread Company, which is located just down the road from campus here in Cherrydale Plaza. Invite you to go see Jeff Massey and his folks there. They are phenomenal people. The food is great. The service is even better. You will love what you get there. They have great selections for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and the baked goods, the cakes and the muffins and everything else that they do there. The fresh bread is just unbelievable. It's the total package, and I encourage you to go see them and thank them for what they do for us on a regular basis. It's the Atlanta Bread Company in Cherrydale Plaza here in Greenville, just down the road from campus. Quick word, and we'll be back with more. Dave Glenn will come up with us on the other side. Don't go away.
Holding, number 79, defense, first down. I'm also holding a party tonight.
Great call by the official. Looks like we've got another flag on the field.
Holding, a Pepsi. Necessary refreshment.
Hey, Ted, bring some of that Pepsi to my party.
Pepsi and the NFL. Welcome to the Fun Doesn't End Zone.
The Atlanta Bread Company wants to make your dining experience as convenient as possible, especially if you're ordering takeout. Go online to atlantabreadcompany.com, place your order there, and pay for it too. Then, when you get to the restaurant at Cherrydale Point, you breeze right by the cash registers and go straight to the pickup counter where your food will be waiting. And speaking of food, try the new Shrimp Po' Boy, a delicious and surprisingly healthy addition to the already great menu. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville. When the Furman baseball team goes on the road, it travels safely, comfortably, and with the latest technology with Jeans Tours and Charters. Jeans has been a Furman favorite for decades and has serviced Furman baseball for over 20 years. Take it from head coach Brett Harker. Book your next road trip with Jeans. Jeans Tours and Charters online at jeansbussvc.com or call 864-242-1673. Jeans Tours and Charters, servicing the upstate since 1980.
If you've been sidelined by an injury, the St. Francis Sports Medicine Team is here 24/7 to get you back on the field. Our highly trained network of physicians, athletic trainers, and physical therapists treat all types of sports-related injuries, even those that don't occur from playing a sport. Call the St. Francis Hurt Line at 675-HU-RT for priority appointments or at-home advice. Again, that's 675-HU-RT.
We are back. It is the second segment of the show at 10:18. I'm Dan Scott. Welcome back to our Facebook, folks. The thing crashed during the commercial break, but we've got the video feed back up, so hopefully everybody's reconnecting, and welcome back there. It's been one of those mornings, folks, but you know what? We're going to press through. We're going to make it through and go forward. I bet the folks at Hall's Chop House have days like that too, but you never know it. They have the unique ability there, and the place is packed every single night. They run 350, 450 people through there a night most nights. Just incredible incredible crowds, and they have the unique ability to make you feel like you're the only person there, or at least the most important person there. Their staff is phenomenal, and then, of course, the food. Really don't have to talk about it, but we do because I love steak, and they have Allen Brothers Prime Steaks, and everything else falls into place under that on the menu. They are open 7 nights a week for dinner. They have brunch on Sundays, live music all the time. Billy and his people there are just absolutely phenomenal. First-class place. You're going to enjoy it. Downtown Greenville, Hawes Chop House, he said, the Greenville Steakhouse. All right, as mentioned yesterday, recorded an interview with Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com, and we'll let you hear that now and talk about, right at the beginning, the passing of the legendary Woody Durham. That came out yesterday right before the show. 40-plus years, the voice of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Here is yesterday's interview with Dave Glenn, live from the Barclays Center, by the way, in Brooklyn, New York. Take a listen. All right, we have a young man who is virtually by himself in Brooklyn, New York, if that's possible. But Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com and the David Glenn Show fame joins us from the Barclays Center, site of the 2018 Atlantic Coast Conference basketball tournament. And Dave, good to have you with us as always. Appreciate the planes, trains, and automobiles effort it took to get you on with us today.
Yeah, Dan, it's good to be with you as always. We should have had this segment sponsored by an airline and Long Island Railroad and a whole bunch of others, because it's been that kind of crazy day that started at about 4 a.m. But I am here for the bulk of this event, and last year or yesterday's games kind of ended with the 3 winners that we thought would come about.
Yeah, and obviously we're going to spend some time talking about that, but we want to dive right into it. There's some breaking news this morning, and unfortunately it's sad news. The longtime voice of the North Carolina Tar Heels, Woody Durham, passes away at age 76. Just a legend in the ACC, a legend in our business. It's sad to hear. We know it's coming for all of us, but when it comes, it still kind of catches you off guard a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And he was part of the fabric of this conference, right? I mean, you're talking about a guy who called for 40 years Carolina football and Carolina basketball, and he has also inspired not only his own sons, Wes Durham, one of the great voices of the ACC, Taylor Durham is the voice of Elon Athletics. They're both amazing people, as Woody was himself. You're talking about a guy who was known nationally within college basketball, a guy who was known statewide in North Carolina by, of course, Carolina fans, but even the rival schools. He had an unsurpassed love for the Tar Heels, but he was also just a distinct voice and an amazing person when it came to his play-by-play skills. And I got to meet him 31 years ago. I was honored and thrilled to meet him back then. Honored every time our paths crossed or we chatted since then. So it is a sad day, and everybody's condolences here as the ACC community's kind of gathered for a basketball tournament. Everybody here from every school and all the media, of course, are sending their condolences to his wife, a wonderful lady named Miss Jean, we call her, and both Wes and Taylor, obviously, who were inspired by their dad in many ways. And I can tell you, knowing the family, it's hard to believe this, but they're even better men than they were or are broadcasters, and that's a huge statement. Because in this state, Dan, I won the North Carolina Sportscaster of the Year award. They basically could have given it to Woody Durham for 30 years in a row. I mean, might as well have renamed it for him. That's another important part of the legacy that he is leaving behind.
And maybe now they will. Who knows what the future holds? Furman played Elon in football twice and in basketball once in this past athletic calendar. And I got to see Taylor, obviously, all 3 times. And every time I asked him about his dad, he was genuinely thrilled that people were asking and wanted to know how he was doing. For people who don't know the irony of being the great voice of UNC for over 40 years, he was robbed of his voice by health issues in the latter stages of his life. So Anytime that somebody asks Taylor, who I got to talk to more often than Wes, about his dad, you could tell that he was very, very touched that people were still thinking about Woody Durham after his retirement.
Well, there's no doubt about it. He was diagnosed with something called primary progressive aphasia, and as you said, the irony was just painful. I mean, this is a guy famous for his voice, and this neurocognitive disease robbed him of exactly that. And they shared that story publicly, and they tried to turn a negative into a positive, and they did. They raised a lot of money to help understand this disease better. It's a sad day, especially the irony here with all of us being at the ACC tournament. He was one of the best that I've ever heard. I don't claim to be an expert on play-by-play. I'm more of a writer and an editor and a sports radio guy, but he sounded great to my ear, and he inspired a lot of people in this industry and was gracious with a lot of us younger folks when we crossed his path over the years.
Despite the obvious where longevity is concerned, to your ear, what was it that made him so special behind the mic?
Unbelievably well prepared. I should be asking you this question since you're a great play-by-play man in your own right, but always well prepared. He did not hide his love for the Tar Heels, but in my opinion, and to my less trained ear, I always liked the play-by-play guys who made clear that they had a rooting interest and were collecting a paycheck from one side of the fence, but also did their best to call the action fairly and clearly. And I think he pulled that off. To my ear, he did. I sometimes wonder when I'm listening to a broadcast, wow, could every close call really have gone against the school whose voice I'm listening to right now? Or is Mikey be giving me a somewhat untrue and grossly slanted version of reality? I do believe there's a sweet spot in there, somehow, some way, where you're not distorting reality while you're also showing your colors. And he bled like blue. There was no doubt about it. He was incredibly reverential toward the former UNC basketball coach, Dean Smith, for example. But when I listened to him, he was always professional and calling it as he saw it, and he was unapologetically pro-Tar Heels. But I thought his broadcasts were very professional and on point, regardless of what he may have been feeling in his heart at that point. And Dan, I'll add this, because you're in this industry, and this is one thing I think you as a play-by-play man and as a sports radio guy have in common with those of us more on the sports radio side of the fence. I'm telling you, I was more of a writer for a long, long time. And I came to realize years ago when I shifted to radio, you connect with human beings in a much different way with your voice than you do with your pen.
Yeah.
Whether it was the newspaper days or even now online much more. I'm telling you, I wrote thousands and thousands and thousands of articles. And you can create a connection with your most loyal readers who truly follow you and your byline. It is possible and it does happen. But when people hear your voice in their car or while they're in the shower or, when they otherwise have the radio on, they start to think of you, if they listen often enough, as sort of a member of the extended family. Mm-hmm. And there is a generation of North Carolinians and especially UNC fans who came to feel that way about Woody Durham. And that's just another huge part of his legacy, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible and amazing how that happens. But, as you're sitting there and talking about that, all I can think of is that's the way that it always was for me with Marty Brennaman, the Hall of Fame voice of the Cincinnati Reds, who I'm fortunate now all these years later to be able to call a friend. But
wow.
I started listening to him when I was 8 years old, and he was in his second year in Cincinnati. And he and Joe Nuxall for 30 years and what's gone on from there, they become the soundtrack of your life, part of the soundtrack of your life.
No doubt about it, man. Growing up in Philly, I can hear the voice in my head today of the late, great Harry Callis and his sidekick Richie Ashburn on Philadelphia Phillies games. I can hear the voice of a guy named Gene Hart, who was the voice of the Philadelphia Flyers way back when, and they won a couple of Stanley Cups. I can still hear in my head his famous call of those back-to-back Stanley Cups. I was fortunate recently, Merrill Reese is both the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles that I grew up listening to way back when, and also still the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles. And when they made the Super Bowl, he was kind enough to join my show. So I went, much like you just described, from that little boy idolizing Gene Hart and Harry Kalas and Merrill Reese to actually having two of the three on my radio show.
Yeah.
So it's just a different kind of dream come true, and another reflection of how the Woody Durhams of the world can impact us, even if we didn't know them personally, as I was fortunate to do with Woody.
Yeah, and incidentally, for those who may be interested in just a piece of throwaway trivia here, you mentioned Harry Kalas. Woody's longtime counterpart at North Carolina State, Gary Hahn, does the best Harry Kalas impersonation that I have ever heard.
Is that right?
It is unbelievable. Ask him to do it for you sometime. You will.
I know the
you'll
words,
lose your mind.
but I don't have a great delivery.
Because I can think to this day, Dan, Harry Kalas would say, you remember Mike Schmidt, the Hall of Fame third baseman for the Phillies. I can't tell you how many times I heard, swinging a long drive to deep left center field, way back. That ball is out of here.
Yep.
Home run, Michael Jack Schmidt.
Michael Jack Schmidt,
I can still hear that, and it's not nearly as good as Gary's, I'm sure, but that's from my 10 and 12-year-old ears way back when.
Yeah, if you want to lose your mind sometime, have Gary do Harry for you. You'll absolutely love it. We're talking with Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com, the passing of Woody Durham. I would imagine that at the ACC tournament today that they would take some steps to honor him for a few moments. At least I hope they do. Let's move on, Dave, and talk about some of the other things going on, including the basketball that has taken place there. Boston College, Notre Dame, and Syracuse all advanced in the preliminary round. And now we have the second preliminary round today before we get to the quarterfinals tomorrow. So the matchups, as I'm looking at it, Florida State and Louisville coming up at noon. Then Boston College and NC State at 2. It'll be probably 2:30. Then the night session, Notre Dame and Virginia Tech, and Syracuse and North Carolina will be the evening sessions. I'm looking right now at Notre Dame, and Bonzie Colson is back. They're the 10 seed in this thing. How much of a threat are they now that they're kind of back at full strength?
Well, Dan, I believe that they're the most dangerous low seed in the 65-year history of the ACC tournament. And I really believe that. Obviously, we didn't even have 10 seeds way back in the day. But as a double-digit seed with Bonzie back, I was actually surprised to learn that their RPI with Bonzie is actually very similar as their RPI without Bonzie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, their wins and losses are dramatically different, much better with Bonzie than without him. But when you really crunch the numbers, the Notre Dame fans advocating for, hey, remember Bonzie's back and healthy again and he's playing well, they tend to leave out that the RPI is similar with him and without him, which is something that that would go against the Irish's chance of making a run here. If you somehow go from beating Pitt yesterday, which was expected, that's by far the worst team in this league. If you go from doing that to knocking off a Virginia Tech team that is headed to the NCAA tournament later today, and then maybe even continuing the trend and winning against what would be a power-packed number 2 seed Duke. We've talked with Joe Lunardi of ESPN and Jerry Palm of CBS, among the other bracketologists, and they seem to think that, if Notre Dame somehow managed that trifecta, well, now you're talking about one more bid to an Atlantic Coast Conference team. And you remember last year this league set its all-time records with 9 NCAA tournament bids, which is great news financially and for PR reasons and every other reason. They have 8 that are considered locks, and the teams that are playing today, many of them have a lot on the line because Louisville is near the bubble as they play Florida State here shortly. You mentioned Notre Dame going up against Virginia Tech tonight, and Syracuse against Carolina tonight. The Orange, the Irish, and the Cardinals can't feel comfortable right now, and they need to keep winning if the ACC's number of bids are going to go from the current 8 to something bigger than that, and who knows, maybe even a new ACC record if they can get to 10.
Dave, speaking of Notre Dame's win over Pitt, Kevin Stallings had to answer the questions afterwards yesterday. Has he coached his last game at Pitt?
I don't know because I don't know their new athletic director very well there. That's always, for the fans who don't know, Kevin Stallings is 2 years into his tenure at Pitt. He finished 13th last year. He finished 15th this year. He went 0-18 in the regular season and got beat by Notre Dame for kind of an 0-19. Meanwhile, Jamie Dixon, one of the great coaches in Pitt basketball history, who's now with his alma mater, Texas Christian, is a projected 6th seed with the Horned Frogs in this year's NCAA tournament. So a lot of Pitt fans who, many of whom were not unhappy or were not sad to see Jamie Dixon go, now have a different point of view on that. When you have a new athletic director, as the Pitt Panthers do, it's a little harder to forecast, what might be next. He did play a lot of freshmen this year. Some of them showed some promise, but that was a flat-out horrendous basketball team by ACC standards. I've been at this for 31 years, and they're near the bottom of that list. But it's on a new AD as to whether you let this seed grow a little bit and sprout some branches, or whether they just decide 2 years after the Jamie Dixon departure to just, pull up stakes and start over.
0-19 for a league season is a bad year in any league, not just the ACC. But yeah, I mean, 2 years in, so that's the rub here, I guess, and a new athletic director. So I guess we just kind of hide and watch and see what transpires from there. What are you looking for from this point on as far as storylines in this tournament?
Well, I think it starts with UVA. Virginia just put together one of the greatest regular seasons in the last 20 years of ACC basketball. When you get to those kind of numbers, 17-1 in the conference, 28-2 overall, I mean, you're up there with, a 1999 Duke team that ended up playing in the national championship game. You're up there with a 2008 UNC team that ended up playing in the Final Four. Both that 99 Duke team and the 2008 Carolina team, which are two of the other greatest seasons, regular seasons of the last 20 years, both of those teams both won the ACC tournament that year and went on to the Final Four. Now, you're aware of the skepticism many have on UVA's way. And it's not that they doubt Tony Bennett. He's proven over 9 years that he's a heck of a coach, and even at Washington State before that. The skepticism comes more about what the Cavaliers can do in the postseason. They did win the ACC tournament a few years ago for Tony Bennett, so that checked one box. But that story, of course, is going to have even more focus and attention when they get to the bigger dance, because the Cavaliers have been to two Sweet 16s with Tony Bennett. They've been to one Elite Eight with Tony Bennett. They've never cracked that Final Four barrier, and they're a number one seed again. So we'll see if the skeptics are right, and that they don't have enough, future NBA talent to fit into the national champion category. I think we'll learn a little bit more about the Cavaliers here, but I think the two best teams are number one Virginia and number two Duke. I do think Notre Dame is interesting to watch because Bonzi is back. I think State and Carolina are teams on missions. And as much respect as I have for the jobs that Jim Larinaga did at 3-seed Miami and Brad Brownell did at 4-seed Clemson, I'm not sure those two have enough offensive firepower to win this event. I've been to enough of these things that I know how hard baskets can be to come by at crunch time. The Tigers and the Hurricanes have outstanding bodies of work, but I think, Virginia, Duke, State, Carolina, Notre Dame, they have more offensive firepower, and that's what you need to win 3 games in 3 days, or for some of these teams, 4-4 or even 5-5.
Just thinking about what you were saying, where Tony Bennett and Virginia was concerned and quote unquote skeptics, it seems to me that you can make a lot of money and you can make a lot of prestige for yourself if you just make the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight on a regular basis. Making it to the Final Four and winning a championship obviously is the goal. But if you're doing that consistently, I mean, that's pretty heady stuff.
No, I agree with you. I mean, you could make the argument that Tony Bennett at least is the second best coach in UVA basketball history behind Terry Holland. And if he gets to a Final Four, he might surpass Terry Holland. And I think people forget, UVA has a certain perception because of the slow tempo and because they don't have as much NBA talent. But a few years ago, when they had, I think, Tony Bennett's best team, they actually did have a bunch of future pros on that team. They just had Justin Anderson, their star player, break a finger and miss a month or so, and then have to undergo an emergency appendectomy after that. So what was his previous best team was sort of derailed by injury, and that's kind of an unfair way to have to judge a coach. But in the bigger sense, you're right, man. Everybody loves him as a man of integrity. Everybody at UVA says he's a perfect fit culturally for Thomas Jefferson's University. He does things the right way. He helps young people become even better young men while also becoming better basketball players. You know, this is a guy who was one of the great sharpshooters in college basketball history who had an NBA career for a while. So he has a lot of selling points on and off the court, and I don't see any end in sight for his high level of consistent success. The only question is whether he can break through that ceiling and make a Final Four run or even a national championship run.
Finally, Dave, switching gears, we're 50 days, I saw today, from the NFL draft. Combine is in the rearview mirror. What are you hearing rumble-wise as far as how the ACC is going to shake out first round? Any surprises that may be developing or any disappointments that may be developing?
Well, I think Bradley Chubb, the defensive end at NC State, is viewed almost universally as a top 5 first-round pick. So that's an important headline that's not a surprise. And then you have the never-ending Lamar Jackson debate. I mean, he's the former Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who didn't win it this past season as a junior, but put up some of the most crazy pinball machine-style numbers you'll see in the history of ACC football. And there's a massive debate about whether his skills will translate well to the NFL. And he's not the only guy who has been the subject of that debate, but we all know he's more of a great athlete than he is a polished pocket passer. But we also know that he actually got a lot better under Bobby Petrino at Louisville at getting out of the pocket and still keeping his eyes downfield. His first year, he looked like a deer in the headlights. He looked like a high school quarterback. If the first read wasn't there, forget about it. He wasn't great by the end of his time at Louisville, but he was a lot better at the more polished aspects of a more complicated passing game. So we'll see. He's likely to end up as a first-round draft pick because a lot of teams need quarterbacks, and he is one of the top 5. Different experts have him in a different order, but Lamar Jackson is one of the top 5 in that quarterback derby, and there's a chance that all 5 of those guys are going to end up being picked in the first round.
It'll be intriguing to watch. Let's wrap it up. Give you a chance to kind of get settled in there in Brook. Oh, I do want to ask you. This is what the second year that this has been at the Barclays Center.
Correct. Louisville and Florida State are now warming up, and the music is blaring. So I hope you can hear us.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I'm just curious. Is there any hope or indication that attendance and interest and publicity is going to be better than it was a year ago?
Not yet. You know, I had my eyes open at the airport, and I took the Long Island Railroad here and just talked to people on the street. There's not a lot of buzz here compared to when it's in, say, Greensboro, North Carolina, or Charlotte, North Carolina. But New York City is an unbelievably diverse place. The closer you get to the Barclays Center, the more you see the signs and the more people will answer your question about, you know, do you even know what the ACC is? What does ACC stand for? The closer you get to this part of Brooklyn, the more of a buzz there is. But because I wasn't here yesterday, I don't have a great feel for, you know, what the crowd was like. I do know this. Last year was disappointing until you got to Friday night and then the Saturday night championship game. However, I always remind people it is not unusual in the modern format to have lightly attended Tuesdays and Wednesdays, even when it's in the more traditional places, as it was in North Carolina for, you know, most of the last 65 years. So we'll see. It's never going to be received here, Dan. You know this, the way it is in the original ACC footprint. But the league decided to expand mostly for financial reasons, and the 11 schools outside North Carolina usually vote in favor of a rotation, even if most fans in North Carolina still say they'd rather it be in Charlotte and Greensboro almost all the time. And they are right when they say that it's more supported by the community, more supported by the local media, more discussed, you know, in the broader media. That's that's a reflection of the headquarters being there in Greensboro, 4 of the 15 schools being there in North Carolina. I was in Tampa when this event was there a decade or so ago. It's just, the farther you get from the epicenter, the more it's a roll of the dice. But I'm still a believer that the benefits of rotation outweigh the the overly North Carolina centric approach when it was almost always in the Tar Heel state over the years.
I got you. Dave, since you are at least in the general location of Grand Central Station, tell people how they can follow what you do. You like that,
I see
huh?
what you did there, you veteran play-by-play man. ACCSports.com continues to be our Grand Central station. We hope you'll follow us on Twitter at ACC Sports, also at David Glenn Show, where obviously we always have football.
All right, so that was our interview yesterday with Dave Glenn of ACC Sports. As I bring the camera back live to us, that's Brad Harker. He will be with us when we come back from the break. Dan Scott Show continues and wraps up on the other side. Stay with us.
Hey, Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
Life's healthier when you're backed by a Greenville Health System primary care doctor. Because then, the doctor that has your back is backed by the more than 1,000 physicians and specialists at the region's leading health system, all working together to bring you the right care in the right place at the right time. Great health starts with a GHS primary care doctor, and there are more than 200 of them conveniently located throughout the upstate, ready to see you. Find yours today at ghs.org/mydoctor.
The Atlanta Bread Company wants to make your dining experience as convenient as possible, especially if you're ordering takeout. Go online to atlantabreadcompany.com, place your order there, and pay for it too. Then, when you get to the restaurant at Cherrydale Point, you breeze right by the cash registers and go straight to the pickup counter where your food will be waiting. And speaking of food, try the new Shrimp Po' Boy, a delicious and surprisingly healthy addition to the already great menu. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville. All right, we are back. Good to have you with us on this Thursday edition of the program, and rolling on a pretty nice day. A little chilly when I got up and out at 4:30 or 5:30 this morning, but all in all, not too bad. Young man sitting beside us is the head coach of the now 8-5 Furman baseball team after their 2-game series sweep over Penn in the midweek, and now it's a pair of games against Big Ten opponents at Fluor Field tomorrow and Saturday, Michigan State and Illinois respectively. Brett Harker, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing my Nick Saban impersonation. Whenever Nick talks at a podium, they always make sure a Coca-Cola is turned perfect, so I'm giving Pepsi some love.
Well,
right
and
here.
Furman is a Pepsi school, which
Yep.
is why, and so I'm going with the
There
diet.
you go.
So we'll do that. Is that
Just learn from the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Learn from the best.
Nick is a trendsetter, isn't
He's
he?
okay.
Hey, so as you told us after the game yesterday, and I was trying to think back in now my 7th year here, if it's happened, I can't recall it off the top of my head, Furman winning a Tuesday, Wednesday, midweek, whether it's two different teams or against the same team. If it has happened, it's been a while.
Yeah. As far as I know, I will tell you, I never know real statistics. I just throw stuff out all the time.
We figured that out.
No, but I'm pretty sure in my 4 years we've never won back-to-back midweeks. And the reason why I'm pretty sure about that is because we've really struggled in midweeks in my 4 years here. And that was something that we put a lot of emphasis on. And obviously when we recruit, we're trying to bring in the arms to compete against these midweek teams, whether it's Asheville, Winthrop, or, everybody wants to win the Clemson-Carolina games, but we just want to win games on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And it's nice to see some of these arms starting to develop and give us those quality starts to where you feel like every time you run out there midweek, you got a chance to win the ball game.
Well, you got good pitching on Tuesday night. Trent Alley started. Pitch count got up again, and then John Michael Bertrand came in and was lights out for 4 1/3 innings, which allowed you to save your bullpen on a day that you needed to save it as circumstances dictated. And then, boy, was Nick Verbeck outstanding yesterday in his second start.
He was awesome. So when you talk about things that where I throw out stats, I have no idea it's true. I'm willing to bet in the history of Furman, we've never won a Tuesday, Wednesday, and only used 4 pitchers. You typically throw midweek, you're running guys out 1 inning at a time, trying to find guys that'll get you 3 outs. And to win 2 games, only using 4 pitchers, saving your bullpen, but really just getting quality innings out of guys. That's what I'm really excited about. Yeah. To have guys go out there and face a lineup, 1, 2, and even 3 times like Nick did, and still have success. That means that what we're doing is working. That means that our guys are getting better. That means that we're attacking the zone and not showing everybody all of our pitches right out of the gate. That's some stuff that we had talked about that we need to get better at. And look, the overall theme is we're getting better, and that's what this whole thing's about. I feel like we're getting better offensively. We're getting better defensively. We're getting better on the mound, and that's a good sign.
Hunter Reed tweeted out some stats post-game yesterday in this 6-game stretch, beginning with the win over South Carolina. We're 5-1 in that time, and the team ERA is an even 4,
yeah.
And the team batting average is 337. You can win a lot of games at the collegiate level with those numbers.
You can, and look, we went into the season just really feeling good about our starting lineup. We feel like we got some veteran guys and some younger guys that can swing the bats. Now, there was a point there where everybody started questioning that, but it was also because we went to NC State for 3 with a really strong pitching staff. And honestly, we did it so early. Hitters are always trying to catch up with pitchers. And when you see an elite staff like that early, I mean, it's going to be tough. And they threw the ball well. I'd love to see a staff like that in a month when we're real comfortable as a lineup.
It's kind of like going to Ole Miss last year when we went and didn't score.
Yeah, and they didn't score a whole lot on us either. I mean, I think there was 6 total runs scored by both teams, and that just goes to show you that good pitching. Everyone says good pitching will beat good hitting. Well, that's especially true at the beginning of the season. 1, it's cold. It's hard to get things going, and 2, just hitters haven't seen very many live reps, and velocity just seems a little bit harder early on in the season.
Well, Verbeck was outstanding yesterday, but I keep going back to the appearance by John Michael Bertrand. He's a redshirt freshman, left-hander, an unknown to everybody but the coaching staff coming into the season, and even how he's going to perform when the lights are on is an unknown for you guys. And boy, that was a tremendous step forward for this young man. He's got really good stuff.
He does, and I'll tell you what I'm excited about is John Michael really stepped it up over the offseason. He redshirted last year and came back this year, and every bullpen he threw, he looked like our most polished pitcher. He just hits his spots, works, can change speeds. We just didn't know how it was going to – we knew he was going to throw strikes. We didn't know how hitters were going to react to it. You can throw strikes and still get hit very hard.
Yes.
And he comes in early on and pitches okay. Not great the first couple outings, but he did throw strikes. And what's awesome is he's not gotten complacent at all. He's trying to figure out ways to get better, mess with his breaking ball, has got a little more life on his fastball, switching seams to a 2-seam. And what's cool is the kid is not getting complacent at all, which tends to happen. If all you want to do is make the team, then he makes the team. A lot of times you'll just see him kind of plateau right there. But that's not his mentality. And I'm going to tell you, don't be surprised if that kid doesn't end up being a starter at some point in his career with the way he attacks the zone. He's left-handed. And the way his composure, if you look out there, he does not look like a redshirt freshman. Yeah. He controls the game. He controls the running game. And I'll tell you another thing, he's one of our most athletic pitchers bouncing off the mound. He does a really good job.
So the next step, obviously, for him is going to be able to back that performance up with the next one, and then the next one, and start.
And he doesn't have to be perfect. Just continue, just continue to attack hitters and show us that you're reliable in the zone, and that's how you're going to get more appearances.
Well, we haven't seen a perfect pitcher since the Harker kid at College of Charleston.
That
right?
is not true. I can promise you that. Look at the home runs I've given up in my career. I'll tell you that's not true.
Yeah. Well, at least you're proud of them,
yep,
right?
Absolutely.
This is Brett Harker. We're talking Furman baseball here ahead of the 2-game series this weekend. Again, an odd set of circumstances that pulled Presbyterian College out of this weekend. So it's only 2 games, no game on Sunday, which, as it turns out, may not be a bad thing because the weather forecast says we probably wouldn't have played anyway.
Yeah, it means we would have had to double up, had a doubleheader. And I'm not big on doubleheaders. And honestly, it helped us. Nick Verbeck would have probably went this Sunday. He went on short rest and obviously threw like he did on Wednesday. So it ended up all working out just fine.
You talked about the club offensively, and you have to start literally and figuratively right at the top with what Ben Anderson has done. The kid has just been outstanding. Now, again, can he do it over the long haul? But
Right.
to have, was it now 8 multi-hit games? It's either 7 or 8 in his first 13 games of his career.
Yeah. Well, he's just earned the nickname Benny the Jet from the Sandlot. So that's a good start to your career when you got everyone yelling in the dugout, Benny the Jet, when you come up. So look, the kid's special. We knew that coming in. Obviously, he's gonna have struggles at some point. We know that he's a freshman. He doesn't have to if he doesn't want to, But he's come out of the gates really strong, and I think he's just only going to get better as he gets stronger. I think these singles will turn more into he's had his fair share of doubles and triples too, but I think he'll be able to drive the ball out of the park as he gets stronger. But his plate discipline, his unselfish at bats, and the way he sets the table to start games, we're just very lucky to have that. I told you at the beginning of the year, I said I just feel like we have a true leadoff hitter, and that's come to fruition. That's for sure.
Beneath him, you've made a little bit of a switch. You moved Sims Griffith up to the second spot in the order. Jake Crawford has been just tearing the cover off the ball.
Yeah.
Costa's been consistent. Elmy starting to show some signs. So the pieces of the lineup are coming together. Hebner's starting to hit the ball at the bottom. Got to get Landon Kay really going. That's kind of the missing piece right now.
Yep, and that's what there's a couple things I'm excited about. One, with the schedule we've had, the way we performed. I mean, we're 8-5 playing a very, very tough schedule, and a lot of that being on the road. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that we're getting better, and I'm proud of what we've done without having Jason Costa behind the plate and without Landon Kay playing his typical. So I mean, if those 2 pieces are gone, those are 2 huge pieces missing. I will tell you that Logan Taplett just continues to get better in the same way that you say there's no better teacher than innings pitched for pitchers. I think there's no better teacher than innings caught for a catcher. In this last week, we really challenged him. We got him pretty hard in a meeting about learning hitters. When he's on the bench, he's never sitting. He's constantly looking over the pitch chart, over our scouting reports on how we're going to set up hitters, what we're doing, and take command of the pitching staff. Because we didn't think he was doing a good job of that early. And he completely changed in the last 5 games. He looked really good, really proud of him. And listen, I'm going to tell you with Landon Kay, the kid's going to get it rolling.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to get it rolling. And what better place than Floor Field where he's had some, Brandon Elmy and Landon Kay are notorious for hitting line drives out of Floor Field. So I'm excited about getting them back in there and get them rolling.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. And you just look for little signs. Hopefully what we saw yesterday is a sign that he's starting to come around. And, let's face it, over his career, he's been a streaky hitter.
Yep.
And when he gets rolling, he's the kind of bat that can carry a club for a while.
Yeah, you're right. And so much is confidence.
Yeah.
And you go up to the plate and, if you're struggling, you don't want to get out on one pitch, so you watch a fastball right there, and now that's going to be the best pitch you're going to see of the at-bat. And it seems like the strike zone gets a little bit bigger when you're struggling. Every call doesn't go your way. Every diving play is caught. But you know what? They dove yesterday, and they missed it. So that's a good start. Maybe we're going to get rolling.
I've commented, a number of times during these struggles of his, how many times he's been 0-1, 0-2 in a count, and how often it seems when you're in that kind of a slump, you're always 0-1.
You walk up to the plate 0-2, yeah. And you're right. That's the way it is. And then when, you're hitting like Jake Crawford, it doesn't matter where they're. He hit that double down the left field line, and the pitch was 2 inches off the ground. It's just that's the game of baseball, and that's why you got to be able to laugh it off sometimes.
As they say, one of my favorite sayings, it's a round ball and a round bat, and you got to hit it square.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Scott Keeler says, on this edition of the Manager's Corner,
hey, Scott,
I was wondering if you could ask Coach Harker about the best time to put in a tomato plant, asking for Alice Sweet of Norfolk.
Well, tomatoes, as you know, are – I know nothing about tomatoes. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Ingalls, a Furman sponsor, has plenty of them. That'd be the best way to go.
Vine ripe tomatoes. Yep. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, we always try to have fun, and then most times we fail. All right, let's talk quickly about the games this week. You go into Big Ten competition with Michigan State and Illinois. We play Michigan State pretty much every year, so you got some familiarity there.
Yep.
What about Illinois?
This is so much I know about them. They're good, and their pitching coach, Drew, was actually my last professional pitching coach.
Really?
Yeah, so it's going to be cool to reunite with him. Drew Dickinson does a great job. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago they actually led the entire NCAA in ERA as a staff. It was an incredibly low number. It was like a 2.7 or something. He does a great job with them. But, look, it's going to be great competition. And I think it's kind of funny that they're coming down here to play each other. But next year we're actually Western Carolina will be the 4th team in this tournament. Every other year we set up who is kind of in charge. This year it's Furman. Next year it's Michigan State, and Michigan State invited Bobby Miranda to only realize, I didn't ask Brett, and then he called me and I said, we got no problem with that.
So you'll play Michigan's
Western Carolina
in
a non-conference, yeah. And I called Bobby, and Bobby said, I got no problem with it. I said, let's go play. So we'll do that next year. So I guess it's only fair that they're doing it this year. But they actually don't play each other during the regular season this year. Michigan State and Illinois.
Yeah, different
they
divisions.
miss each other, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
But it's going to be great competition. Obviously, at one of the best venues in the country, and we're going to see some top-notch pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'll be a great challenge for our boys. This is what I challenged them. I said, look, we've made a point to get better midweek. We're 3-4. We're 3-1 in midweek so far. If our program wants to get to the next level, we have got to learn to dominate at Fluor Field. If you want to win championships, we're going to need to win them at Fluor Field. If you want to beat Clemson and Carolina at home, you got to win at Fluor Field. So let's take that step to get comfortable at Fluor Field and play our best baseball there. And so that's the challenge I have to them going into the weekend.
Lazaro tomorrow and Sherman on Saturday.
That's correct. We got the 2 lefties going. The young Sherman and the old Sherman going. They just pitch so similar, and it's so fun watching him watch Sherman and pick apart everything he does.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a student of the game, is Matt Lazaro, and it's awesome to have a guy like Sherman to learn from. They are so similar. It was great having Gaddis around, but Gaddis wouldn't have helped Lazaro very much. Just completely different repertoires. So I feel extremely fortunate to have a guy like Sherman around to take Lazaro under his wing and teach him how to be successful at this level.
All right, 6 o'clock tomorrow, 5:45 will be our broadcast pregame time as the Paladins of Michigan State do battle at Fluor Field at the West End. Always fun going to that ballpark.
I love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful ballpark.
All right, Brett, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
That is Brett Harker, and that is going to wrap up this edition of the show. We will be back with you tomorrow and do a little more preview of that Furman Michigan State series. Until then, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you and so long, everybody.